And don't try and cry, because if anyone should be crying, it should be me. This is the situation.
Yes.
You tell me where you have heard him say, educate me, tell me when you have heard him say racist things. Educate me, tell me.
It is not the exact words of racism. It's the implication and the reaction to it. To not want to address that because she is a black woman and to try to dismiss it or to make it seem less than what it is. That's what makes it racist. But right now, I'm talking to a woman who I believe is my friend. And I don't want anybody here to watch this and say that we're attacking you for being racist. And for that, if I articulated
I think it's
anything,
too late. I think that seed's already sown.
That was Cheryl Underwood. I'm going to say the great, brilliant Cheryl Underwood on something called The Talk with Sharon Osbourne. And I'm going to need black people to stop trying to rescue white folk from themselves. They can go ahead and swim in their own toxic brew that they cook up for themselves. I'm going to need us to stop caping and getting in front of them with our bulletproof chests and try to deflect all of the things. So I want the opinion of the folk that are here. Let me welcome back Sina Ghaznavi, of course, my co-host for the day, and welcome to the show. She is the author of This Is Why I Resist. She's also the founder and editor-in-chief of the Women in Leadership publication. She's got so many degrees that we would spend all day here talking about them. Let me welcome Dr. Shola Mos-Shogbamimu. No, let me do it. Dr. Shola Mos-Shogbamimu.
We're almost there now. We're almost there. Well done.
Shogbamimu.
Thank you. Well said. Well said.
Say it, Sina.
Phonetically.
Shogbamimu.
Shogbamimu.
Exactly.
Shogbamimu. Shogbamimu. What does it mean?
Listen, and it's an African name, so you have to say it with respect and with attitude. You see what I mean? Like, you know what you're doing. Exactly. Give it some attitude.
Shogbamimu.
That's right. It means to hold you close. To hold you close.
Oh, Karen, I'm going to Shogbamimu you.
You better do it. You better do that to me. All right. So your maiden name, you said we were talking during the break because I want you to deal with Sharon Osbourne and all of the white British people and the white folk in America, so-called, in a second. But you said you tell your daughters to be careful or to be mindful of who they marry because this is your married name. What is your maiden name?
My maiden name is Babington Ashai, which of course I was very much attached to for the very longest time. And even when I got married, I kept my maiden name. It is when I started to have kids, I decided, you know what, I think I'll just switch. But when I cracked the joke about telling my kids, my daughters, because I have 3 daughters, like, you know, just check out that last name. By all means, fall in love, right? But before you say I do, check out the last name. It's so that they can be aware. You can choose to keep your name. I mean, I chose to move from my maiden name to my married name. And I own my married name now. The way I carry my married name, you would not even think it's my married name. You think I was born with it, right? But that is the sense of pride. And I always believe that the name that you have, you are the one that builds. You build the power into it. You build the influence into it. You're the one that makes it what it is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I crack that joke with my daughters. And my husband likes to crack the joke that the next time he comes into this world, he will come as a woman and marry himself. You know, he's stuck in a house full of women. So as far as
well, he'll have great practice on how to deal with all of that estrogen. You became viral, or not? You know, you went viral for challenging Piers Morgan, and then the next day, you know, he got slapped again, and then walked off his own show, and then he resigned / got fired. But you were the lightning rod in challenging him because he tried to shut you down, and you were like, oh no, I'm going to finish my statement. What you are not going to do. And so talk a little bit about that, and also Sharon Osbourne attempting to defend him and her own insensitivity around race.
I mean, we'll get to Sharon in a second. I mean, what you see, or what we see with Piers, especially with him walking off the set, that was the height of petulant masculine fragility. I mean, this is Piers Morgan, who dishes out a lot to people. He dishes out like he's dishing out, I don't know, he's dishing out saliva. He just dishes it out to people. And I can't understand for the life of me when people are challenging him on his, what I call malicious obsession over Meghan Markle. He's now like, well, you know, I feel really hurt and I can't take this anymore. So I'm just going to work out. I don't have time for that. I mean, that's what you saw. I was surprised that he decided to take that that step. But you know what? I'm not that surprised. Look, we have the society we exist in, be it in the United States or in the United Kingdom, caters to whiteness, caters to men, white men. That is the default system. And it did not surprise me that Piers decided to make the situation about himself, because do you notice that's what happened? The story changed. It became about Piers Morgan walking up the set, Piers Morgan defending his opinion, Piers Morgan wanting to defend the Queen, Piers Morgan all about, you know, freedom of speech. I'm like, you people, you are deflecting. And you're deliberately deflecting because you don't want to deal with the serious issues of the negligence, the lack of support, and racism happening in the royal family. So rather than deal with that, you're coming up with all this, well, you know, I'm a patriot, so I'm going to defend the Queen. The Queen doesn't need you to defend her. The Queen probably could not pick Piers Morgan out of a crowd of working class people, right? And you sit down there thinking, we've seen this before. You see the kind of language you're using is the same, and it's not only Piers Morgan, let me just say. Other people like Piers Morgan. And the language they're using is the same language they use for Trumpism, same language they use for Brexitism. It's the same thing. It's really sickening. Now, I've been reserving my energy because I find Sharon Osbourne's behavior utterly disgusting. Did you, Jesus in heaven, God give me strength. Now, let's just start to deconstruct this. This went from Sharon knowingly putting out a tweet to defend her friend Piers Morgan, which she would have known would have some backlash. She did not try to break down any nuances as to why she was publicly defending him, i.e. saying things like, look, I know sometimes his opinions may be ABC, but look, the guy is none of that. She went into full-heartedly going like, I'm giving him a blanket cover endorsement, which is really what attracted the backlash. Because then people are like, hold up a second. He has been malicious towards Meghan Markle. I mean, this is beyond, I don't like you. Every single word out of his mouth have just been, it's escalating, aggravating sexism against her, bigotry against her, sexism, all of that. And how can you not see that as a woman and on International Women's Day? How do you not see that? And so people are challenging her on that. And of course, I have also said to Piers Morgan straight up to his face, and more than once, I'm sure, that as far as I'm concerned, I find his behavior to be utterly irresponsible. He's a white privileged man with power and influence. He knows what he's doing. He knows that there are people who are bigots out there, sexist, racist, misogynist out there who are just pouring out all this bile on Meghan Markle. And because of his intense dislike, irrational as far as I'm concerned, of her, he's escalating it. I'm like, do you not see what you are doing? And that is what I challenge him on, right? And now Sharon Osbourne comes with her white women's tears, because you know that's what they do. And look at me at 68 years old. How can you say that I now have to say I am not racist? Jesus, let me tell you something. The response she got from her co-workers, she did not deserve it. Even as she was using her shrill, tone. What? So what? Oh my God. She's lucky I was not on that platform, because it's not tears she would have cried. She may have had a heart attack, because I would have broken her down verbally, of course. We don't need to lift fingers. This is rubbish. What she ended up doing is conflating the issue with her insecurities, with her fears, conflating it and making it about her once again. And how she just lacked this self-awareness for a white woman who is 60 years old and has never been racist in her life. Can you see? This is a problem. You better stop me from talking when you need, because if I go on, I'll just keep talking. This is the problem that we have in our society. When people who say, white people particularly, who say, I am not racist, But in their minds, what they've done is to give layers to the racism. Well, I'm not racist about very blatant, what I consider to be blatant racism, which is, of course, the use of the N-word. That's just disgusting. Or having, burning crosses. That's just unacceptable. But then they'll let everything else pass. Everything else. Like, they don't understand. It's not just about using words. It's about enabling racism against Black and ethnic minorities. It's about the conduct, omissions, actions that enable that. Just because your way of life is predicated on denying Black people an equal value of life, the moment it gets to a point of discomfort, you're like, well, I don't think that's right. This is really not about race. Yes, it is, because it intersects with everything. And what Sharon Osbourne did, oh, Jesus, give me strength. I see. I can't remember the name of the
Cheryl Underwood. Cheryl Underwood, who I thought, who has all of the words. So let me just be very clear. Cheryl Underwood could have eviscerated Sharon Osbourne, but she's sitting there also, because this is what Black people have to do. She is contemplating first her position, right, with CBS, her role on the show, Sharon Osbourne's power, which she has a lot of power. She's one of the founders of this particular platform. At what point am I going to undress her and at the same time maintain my dignity and my allegiance to my Blackness, because Cheryl Underwood was very Black. I saw her going through that which is something we shouldn't have to do. We should be able to respond to things in the moment, but there's all of these checklists that she has to go through because her personal economy is on the line.
And it's even beyond that. I also saw her visibly. Did you notice that she visibly measured her tone? Oh, I said, oh my God, this is hard work. Can you imagine me in this situation? I could see she was measuring a tone as though she was talking to a child and speaking softer and making it not go too fast. Jesus, do people not understand what we have to go through?
Let me ask you this, Dr. Shola.
I'm angry on her behalf. In fact, let's rewind time. Let me go sit on that chair for her, because I am happy to eviscerate that nonsense on the platform. It's wrong.
Let me ask you, did you grow up in Great Britain? Did you grow up in under the Queen?
So under the Queen. I love that statement. So I grew up partly in Nigeria. We also moved for a while to East Africa, and in the States on some of my younger years, and in the United Kingdom for most of my adult life.
So having traveled, for Black Americans, we see racism, some of us, not Herschel Walker, not, other Stacey Dash, but a lot of us understand racism, the nuances of it, the subtleties of it, and it's purposefully that way. It's not the N-word, the Confederate flag, or the burning cross. It's the microaggressions. It's, oh, you can read. Oh, you're so articulate. Oh, we didn't know that it's all of that and then some, right? For us watching Great Britain, it's what is it? What is racism?
It's the same.
How's it different?
No. There's no difference. People, please don't get confused. Do not get confused. Understand that the racism you experience in America, the root cause of it, the root legacy of it, started with Great Britain. Remember, it was Great Britain that colonized America before you guys you set yourself free, right, from the king. Okay.
No. Wait, hold on. White men set themselves free.
That's right.
People who look like me were still in bondage.
That's right. Absolutely. When I used the word America, I meant just Americans. But absolutely, you're absolutely right.
But even that you're saying that though, and you need to come back and like co-host and sit in and just be on the show every day. But even saying that, the double consciousness that many people have to have, because yes, I'm American, but I'm Black first. And yes, you're great, from Great Britain, you're African, but you're Black, and Black has a different meaning throughout the diaspora. Does it to you as well?
I don't know. I don't think so. So let me break it up this way. I think Black is the one unifying word in the diaspora. The way it's then broken up is African, African American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Arab, do you see what I mean? That is how it's, but Black, remember, we didn't create the word Black. White supremacists created the word Black. And because they created the word Black, They have dehumanized our Black identity as one single monolith and describing us as all of these things that we are not. This is what I address in my book. And this is why in my book, this is why I resist. I use the United States and the United Kingdom. I do that comparison. And I'm demonstrating there's jack all difference. Don't be confused. The legacy of slavery is in both. And don't be confused with white British, okay? Now, not all white British are racist, of course not. Not all white Americans are racist, of course not. But the structural systems that's steeped in a culture of whiteness benefits all white people. So it does take actively anti-racist white folks to want to fight against white supremacy, right? To want to take that stance. But understand that this is one of the things that, for me, I delve into in the book. You know, when you talk about racial microaggressions, I talk about that, but I also talk about what white supremacy looks like every single day. How old were you when you realized that plaster could come in your color? How old were you? Think about that. Think about how things are advertised. Look at what is marketed to you. It's always, it's always steeped in whiteness. Even how professional you should be is centered on whiteness. And that whiteness we know is Eurocentric. It is. Even white America, it's all Eurocentric. I'm like, please, I'm going to bring my badass Afrocentric self here and I define what my professionalism is. And if you can't accept me, you better step out of my way before the Nigerian Shola shows up. I get my wrapper and I tie it around my waist. Let's go. The point is, what I think is really important in all of these conversations about how we address the ongoing structural racism and the discrimination is not to try to make, say that there's a distinction between America and United Kingdom. It's nonsense. People here in Britain go, well, it's not as bad as America. And I go, what? Because the police in America have guns? Are you out of your mind? Well, the police here they've got hands, they've got feet, they've got batons, yet they are killing people, yet they are locking up Black people, Black men particularly. They're beating people up. The history, it's right there, the cases are there. This is still racism. The way that the discrimination is experienced in schools by children. Think about that.